To access the risk module, click the risk icon on the InPhase homepage. This will take you to the risk module and the list of risks in the system. To add a new risk to the risk module, click the Capture Risk button at the top right, which will open up the risk form. There are fields for title, some risk description fields, and a series of sections that allow for the risk to be broken down into causes, risk events, and consequences. You can set the risk owner and the care group / corporate senior risk owner, which will both default to you, but they can be changed by clicking on your name. The risk can be linked to care groups as well as specialties, teams, locations, etc. Only the care group is mandatory for risks. We have risk grading matrices so that you can indicate the initial risk scoring, the current risk scoring, and the target risk scoring. After you've finished writing your risk, you can click the green Create Risk button, which will submit the risk through the approval process. You can also save as draft. Saving as draft does not require the mandatory information to be completed, but all of the mandatory information must be completed before the risk is submitted. The approval process has 3 potential approval stages, which are all built into the InPhase system. First, we have specialty / department approval, which then passes on to care group / senior lead approval. Within the care group level is the option to flag it for the committee to approve, and if required for high scoring risks, it can also be forwarded for chief officer approval. Once all of the appropriate approvals have been completed, the risk will be live on the risk register. Currently, all of the risks that you have access to will be displayed in a single report. You can view the risks by their stage by changing the questionnaire stage on the homepage. We do plan to develop more reports to make this process smoother and easier to navigate. As an example, I will just show the ones in the draft stage. So I'll select draft stage and click search. And I'll open up a test risk I have created earlier. Within the risk, there are some button controls on the left-hand side. We default to the risk info section, where we can click controls, where we can add new and link existing controls from the system, and we can add actions in the action section. Returning to the risk information for the time being, you'll see the form is the same as I was showing earlier. Once you are happy with the content of your risk, as before, you can submit as risk. If you press the blue save button, that will keep it in the draft stage. There is also an option to reject a risk, where you can effectively cancel the inputting of the risk. In order to demonstrate the workflow, I'll submit it as a risk and show you what that looks like. So once it's submitted as a risk, as highlighted in the workflow, it is now awaiting specialty / departmental approval. And from this stage, any users with the appropriate approval access have some options that allow for the risk to be approved. The green button will approve it and send it up for care group approval. The orange button will allow the specialty approver to return it to the draft stage and to request further information from the inputter. But once it has been approved at specialty level, users with appropriate access for the care group or senior level will also have button options that will allow them to move the risk through the approval process or to return it back down the line to the specialty, and so on down the line. Once the risk is live on the risk register, reviews can be added by clicking the red button down at the bottom. This will allow the reviewer to add review comments, which will then appear as a last review underneath the current risk rating, including the date the review was taken and the date that the next review should be due. All previous reviews can be viewed in the archive. Thank you for your time. I hope you found this short tutorial useful.